And in sharing the screen, I will be able to show you what we are doing. So here is our agenda. Okay, right here. Now, I hope you see all of that. If not, I would see it on the chat here. This is Greg from Silicon Valley, and that is Mauricio from Woodlands. That's not far from here. Yes, I'm in Houston, but Woodlands a little bit farther away, about an hour drive. But thank you. So everybody, welcome and welcome to the webinar, especially for the people who have not been here. First of all, that is the link to exactly this screen that I'm showing. So I'm giving that on the chat. Let me keep the chat open here. So that's the link, and you can open that. When you open it, then I will be able to see that anonymous picture right there, anonymous ship or anonymous something. That's number one. So that shows that it works. And secondly, what to expect is I'll show you everything I'm working on. So I'm working usually on two things. One of them is learning new things. And for that, honestly, I'm very grateful to you guys and girls because every week I need to review whatever was the latest and greatest, and I'll show you what it was. And therefore, I'm really forced to learn, and that's very good because without that, I might be falling behind. All right. And secondly, yes, I have to work, and in working, I do interesting things. So that's what we'll be talking about. We will be talking about my project and how I do my document extraction. That's what I'm doing here. Also, a new way to write code, and that will be building code agents with Smolagents. I still don't know why they're called this way. So that's the first thing that I want to do. So if we go to chat, no. And we want to know why small agents are called this way. What is the meaning of the name? Maybe it will know. Now, you may notice what I'm using, and that is something I'm going to talk about anyway, and that is right here. It is ChatGPT o3. Okay. Yes, it searches the web in getting ready to answer. Small meaning slang internet. So coming with the answer, minimal, lightweight, but small using this internet language. So why did they choose this name? Because it's a small library. But we'll see how important and how great is that. And that also gives me a direction where to go. Since we started with this, I would think we will continue with that. Okay, so that's the whole thing. What we do is we either look at what new things I've been doing, or we look at what things others have been doing. And then you guys chat in the chat right here. In the chat, boy, where is this chat? Here. You can come up with questions like this. So if you have a question, you can come up with a question here. And if that is something that is very interesting, we'll put it in the next session just as well. But as I said, building code agents with Hugging Face small agents. Now I understand what is the name. And if before we even start, I'll tell you that Hugging Face is a company that started a lot of things before ChatGPT came up with ChatGPT. So in fact, even the first ChatGPT, I think 2.0, was published on Hugging Face at the time when that was a repository for all things open in AI. And at that time, OpenAI was really indeed open space AI. Now we know it's closed. So they were the place where that was published. And then the history was because they became prominent as a publisher of a library. That I think is what they mainly do. One of the libraries that they publish are called, um, I think they're called Transformer. That's exactly that. So now they're coming with a new library called Smolagents, and with that we can start looking at the few introductory slides right here. Let us look at that, and I am making it bigger size. Okay, so looking at agents. Now, what I like here particularly, the origin of, okay, Eliza and Eliza's uh, LinkedIn, and I should already be there, be accepting invitations, and I encourage everybody, why not? We are a small group of like-minded individuals. So if I go to LinkedIn here, and if I'm not connected, I should be. I am very good. So back to where we were looking at agents, and there must be a full size somewhere on the screen right here. So what I liked about them is that they use real paintings. It shows that you are from France when you're using real paintings, and whatever illustration they do is that way. And yeah, I like it too. So let's see, what are the agents? That is the major question, because they advertise a new library for agents. And since agents are something that everybody is talking about, then it makes sense to learn about this, to try it maybe. Let's do it. So they add some chitty chat here, but the basic answer is really good. They are saying, well, agents are just programs. But the difference is that you can have a code, and that code works stupidly the same every time, or you can include AI in the execution of your code, even in one place. We'll see later on that you can do it in many places, but even in one place, if instead of your code, you ask, hey, LLM, what would you do in that case? That's an agent. Now, Andrew Aim was asked the same question, what is an agent? And he kind of said if it feels agentic and looks agentic, that's an agent. But that sidesteps the question. I think I like a lot how they answered that. And a really good picture, but we need to go. So there are multiple levels of this agency. Let's look at them from beginning to the end. So first, LLM just does what you want. So instead of 2 plus 2 equals 4, you could ask LLM, tell me how much is 2 plus 2, and put that as part of the code. The second way is it gives you something, but as a result, you can decide where to go in your code. Wow, that's a bit different, because you're saying if LLM decided to go one way, you go one way, and if it's another one, then it's another way. So it decides something, but doesn't write new code. Now, what we could also do, we could call an LLM, we could give it a tool to use, and that will be smart. It will determine whether it does want to use that tool or no, and that's more effect. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. That output controls the iterations. So all the time that LLM allows you to continue, you continue. All right, and one more. One agentic workflow can start another agentic workflow. And now when you do that, obviously, it's a bunch of agents and they do different things. So right away, there will be a question, well, how do I make sure that it doesn't take over the world from my computer? So all of that is covered in their course. And let's continue with the slides. We'll look at the course a little bit later. But we get the idea that we're giving LLM more and more power over the execution of the code, and not only overall, but deep inside every line. All right. And that is in agreement with what's going on in the world. Because if you look at the world, there is a router where LLM controls if or else switch. Then there is a tool calling, so there are more and more tools that it decides how to use them. Okay, sorry. Here. Then there are multi-step agents, and I absolutely love how they pronounce it multi-step. Okay, no pun intended, I have an accent myself, but multi-step agent is when you determine where to go next. And finally, today started in June 7, 2024, you can have LLM that will write additional code right then and there and execute it. And that's pretty much what you see in O3, the last model, which is a special separate talk about that. We'll come there. All right. Now, prediction, because we're going into 2028. What this points to is that agents become more and more smart, or smarter and smarter. And you can see this. So the Hugging Face, their own prediction is 2026 is when you will have human level of performance. By the way, that speaks very highly of humans. They have great performance. That's wonderful. And that's a little bit of the future. So right now, when we're in the middle of this gigantic wave, it makes sense to at least start surfing in the beginning, because maybe then you will keep surfing even when the wave is bigger. That's the essence of the course. So again, that is a little library that allows you to implement all those agents. And how does it compare to what we did before? Before, we had kind of agentic. So I think we need to put two things on our to-do list. So a little bit about the future and how the robots will work. But we'll start going into the meat of it here on the slide, and we'll stop there. So what we're saying, there was function calling, and you wanted to become smarter and smarter in your agents. So what you did is reinforcement learning for the agents, where you say that went well or that didn't. Well, the whole library is very interesting, and I think what we need to do is this. Close that and move the invisible window that you guys don't see, but it's in my way. Okay, and close what we don't need to see. All right, so what we need to do is put some things on the to-do list, and that is we really need to build something. So yes, building it this way, yes, I agree. Build an example, because we shouldn't just look at what others have done, but we should do it ourselves. That's preparing for me too. And let's exclude everything else, but that's our list for next time. All right, so we will do that. I think what will be good is if we compare small agent. Compare small agent to other approaches. Because we have looked at other approaches before. Now, going back a little bit. So in this webinar, we look at technologies. We also look at the latest and greatest events. And if people come here and don't know where to start, that's the link for them. This is called the learning path. If you open that, you can also call it AI education. Then you will see all the courses that we looked at so far. And as you see, usually the course is named, then what it is about, then it is the course itself, the link, which can be anything, but in most cases, these are open courses. And finally, in our repo. So if that is prompt engineering, let's say, then our repo contains all the files that will not necessarily be present in the lesson, in the lecture, but carefully assembled here to run. And then there are a few people like Neha and Emily who will verify that that really did work. That is what that is about, okay? Now, if you want to, I see the hands, I'll come to them. But if you want to scroll down, what you will see is that numbers keep increasing. Now, that number is because it is in our repository. And if there is no number, then perhaps it is not in our repository. Okay. But let's go down, and please don't be scared or dizzy. That is 95. And I will put a name there too. Let's do that. Okay, if it is here, that's on the GitHub, on the Open Labs, and the one that I just pushed was here 70. Okay, so I need to give you that repository. I'm putting it right here. And that is the link, okay? Not verified as yet. And then we can go back and say that gets a number 70. All right, I think that is enough, that I provoked enough interest. You can all go to that course and look at this wonderful smart face, or you can go into the repository where you would have a supposedly working version of that with all the keys and everything and the instruction how to run it. And now I see lots of chat. So very good. It's the good place to stop and look at the chat. Here we are. Chat 11. Oh, I'm wrong about something, but okay, share the screen. Oh, yes, indeed, it is shared. Stopping the share and sharing again. Okay. Apologies. But what I said still stands. It's this last course. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that's the course. That's where it comes from. That is the link to the course. Please enjoy. And that is the link to the repository, which should eventually be verified. And we will continue. All right, let's look at the chat again, just to see that it was maybe something that I didn't pay enough attention to. So it was all about screen share, not comments. Okay, we're good for that. So let's do this. Let's go to the next part of the section. You see my screen, and this is where we are. We looked at that. We looked at the Hugging Face, but I will continue with the story of my talking to 3.0, an approach that I will show now is completely different. It's also AI-based approach, but here's what I was doing last time. So the conversation is recorded. I said, look, I have a document. It's a pretty complicated document because it's coming out of the depth of the police reporting agency. So it's probably 40 years old technology, and it's extremely hard to parse, even though it looks like PDF. But don't be misled. So 10 steps into making it an OCR and so on. But in the end, after 10 steps, it begins to extract the fields. Well, that's not going too far. And now I'll show you the remainder of the story. Well, there are some comments here. Aha, please share all the documents. Yes, thank you for that. I'm sharing all the documents. Okay, so first document that you need is this. That is the link to our webinar. That's our webinar. Secondly, what you would like is this link. Okay, that link is the learning pad. So I'm copy pasting that learning pad. Wonderful. By the way, that's one advantage to be in the webinar live, because if it is a recording, not only you cannot say something that you want to say, but you also cannot copy and paste from a recording. Right. Thank you. So we were talking about how one approach is Smolagents, how it will write the code for you and it will also maybe add some code, but it will be very actively executing the code while you're working. So my approach is 100% different, but also very much AI-based. Let me show you exactly what I'm doing. So if I go to OpenAI right here, no, that's not the one. I need to open it. That's what it is. Chat. So I'm still working with the same document, but I take a completely different approach. Extraction project. Okay, and it's been a long story. I don't know why it doesn't load that. But in any case, I'll tell you what is going on. I'm giving you the document and I'm saying, now you write the code. It turns out that it writes good code and it adds to what I know. So, for example, if I know that this document is very well understood, if you look at the picture and give it an image, and it's completely messed up if you go line by line, then I tell it, look at the picture. That's the real document that you wouldn't see otherwise. It understands and it's thankful. Okay. Now the other way around, it says, "Oh, you're working with on the legal documents," and I notice there are police charges there, charge codes there. Okay, I have added it to the comment. It says that's one thing that happened. First of all, very meticulous and detailed on helping me write the code. It's not part of the execution. Number one, you will see the advantage of that approach. You get all the brains, all the smarts, but you don't run every time for every one of those, and I have 400 pages. Every page, you don't run it through LLM. You run it just once, you extract the essential code. It works very well because the police documents are well structured. It's just that they're weird. And instead of running AI every time, I run AI together with my brain. Now, the amazing thing, I need to show you the code. The code is right here. And that code is very professional looking code created by AI together with a human. It grabs the essence of what I'm doing. It also maintains a revision history. Look at that. It says, let's start. Well, I'll tell you why. I didn't start from the beginning. That is in the middle of the conversation. But it says, oh, I noticed some police codes. They are going right here. I also did the next step. And so it keeps doing more and more steps. I just need to keep synced with the code that it has. But now look at how much work we have done together. Possible charges. Possible charges wasn't easy. I realized that these are possible charges. That was my contribution. It realized that I don't know regex, and at least not well enough. And it said, when you do things like dot, that means something in the regex, and that's why I'm not finding it. So you need to do it this way, and I will translate it into proper regex. Well, try to estimate the amount of work I would have to do for those things without AI. Now I'm going and analyzing the document one field at a time. So that's what we do. We're saying extract the arrest place, extract the gender, so on and on and on. And you need to work on every one line at once. And we're almost at the end. There you are. That will be the return. And I think by now I see why it is so different from Smolagent, because the code works only once. To process 400 pages, it takes about 2-3 minutes on my computer, as opposed to hours and hours it would take to run it through AI every time. Nevertheless, you see what state of the art that code did, 250 by now. So I have a few things that I'm showing you that are kind of new. What's new is that we work together, we think together. It's AI brain and my brain, and they seem to cooperate. So in the big question of will AI kill us all, or will we be good friends forever? So you see, I'm on the side of good friends forever. That's number one. Number two is sometimes what you need is extremely detailed prompts, and that's a completely different approach where you would actually use AI every time on processing every document. But the prompts are amazingly long, so I could show you. Let me show you. That's not a secret in this GitHub. Probably in a different repository, but not too far. So let's look at the RBC. That's where we have different prompts, and that's what I want to show you. Prompt. All right, that's an example of a different approach, a prompt that is doing your work. What's interesting is that how detailed that prompt is. Well, do not summarize, don't fantasize, or how detailed it is here. And that's an example of 5. 5 is not enough. I have much longer, 20, 25 examples. So it is yet another approach, but I'm going back to where I was, and that is here. So how I really work on the document extraction. Agentic is one approach, and we looked at that, and we plan to do something with next time. But combining your brain with the AI is another approach, and it works just as well. Okay, I'll show you something that I'm almost there. I just got a message from Slack that says just a few more fields, and maybe it is hallucinating. Now, that's very important. People do know AI, and they know the terms, but here I'm telling honestly what I'm doing. And I'm saying AI tries to look reasonable and presentable, but doesn't guarantee that it's correct. And that's the essence, I think, because AI is being trained, at least right now, it's being trained to just look right and maybe not be correct. It's more praiseworthy to give something that makes, if not sense, then at first glance. Well, if so, a very, very important consequence is that if I'm giving you 400 pages and the first 200 look good, well, that doesn't mean that they all will look good. Because you see, it's trying to be presentable, it's trying to look good, doesn't mean that it's really good. So therefore, the remaining last step is to manually kind of check everywhere, but that gives you an advantage. If you are using AI as part of your work all the time, then you're paying AI every time and you are um, wasting or spending the time every time, as opposed to this approach where you're doing all the thinking upfront together with AI, and you saw the advantages of that. But now, as I mentioned, running through all the pages takes about 2 minutes. All right, and going back to this model 3.0 or O3, it's right here. So O3 is the longest thinking model. It says uses advanced reasoning. That came out maybe a week ago, maybe just a bit more. What is important is that if you use it enough, it will tell you you only have 20 questions to ask. And in the end, it will say, well, sorry, but the next time you will ask a question will be 3 days from now. It all happened to me. But I was talking to a person out of the blue for a different reason, and he mentioned that he has the subscription. So if you need the subscription, which is $200, but when you really need to do the work, you need to do the work, then you will not find that upgrade button. Look at that. See, it doesn't say the upgrade button. And if I have another account, which is lower level, it also doesn't have. The place where I found that there is an upgrade button is when I was creating a new account. So to me, that's a little bit of a problem with the sign up of AI. But of course, they understand that if I really need it, I'll dig it up. So in the end, I have multiple. This is the pro account, as you can see. Okay, that's the pro account. Now, I have for another account within another company. Let me show you where that is. Right here. And if I go to chat here, that will be yet another account. Okay. And again, no upgrade menu. That was hard to find, but be persistent and you'll find it. And then now I'm telling my friends, oh, I have a no limit and very smart account. Well, they say no big deal. We all have it. All right. Now I want to demonstrate how it works and how it thinks. So, let me do a demo. So I want another conversation. Where do I, oh, here. Hey, demo conversation. Right here. And let us ask a deep question. Oh, that's what I want. And that's what I loved. That was my inspiration. So I was working on that and I was asking it to write the extractor. Before I started the extraction project, I was just using it. And what I saw is that it goes through very many steps and it was showing me its thinking. And that is what inspired me. If you can tell it how to think better, then together you're working. Anyway, it turns out it thinks in Python. And anyway, it turns out that it shows you every step. It tries things, they don't work, tries again. Well, now I thought I can do it together with it. Let's see. I didn't give any good example, but you see what it's doing. It says I'm thinking. All right. Well, that just shows the result. What I wanted to show is give it a good bunch of code and improve this code. Improve this code. Now, yes, it's thinking, but it must tell me what it's thinking, and I think it will. That's what O3 does. By the way, it's thinking for quite some time. I had a thinking periods of 5 minutes to to 6 minutes. Okay, 5 was the max, really. But you see what it's doing? It tells you in details how it's improving that and what it wants to do. Let's see what kind of code it will come up with. Improve code. And then it tells you what it's doing. And that is what's very valuable. Because now that I see how it's thinking, and it's not doing it too fast, that's on purpose, I'm sure. And then the resulting code. Now, I can try that code. That will be interesting to really see if it works. Okay, let's try that. To do this, I'll show you a few things that may be useful. Notice, please, that this is what is called Canvas. Now, they went to a different format. The Canvas here shows us the document that I work on the document together with AI. Here, I can ask questions. It doesn't work perfectly. It was only showing me part of the code. And I think even now it shows part of the code and then it hits some limit. So I can say complete code. Now, does it show complete code here? Yes, it does. Oh, okay. It says I refactored the code and it's showing here, but it's not complete. So the code show is not complete. I did something yesterday that helped. I said, stop using this new format, Canvas. Don't use Canvas. Let's see what it will do. Wow, it goes very politely through every line. But I didn't tell it stop using Canvas. I'm just saying, hey, the code is not completed. Well, it's closed. Okay, that's better. Going through it just once more to verify. Still didn't come to the end. Trying once more. It says editing. And if that doesn't work, I'll just say stop using Canvas because it doesn't work for you. Yeah. You know what? Stop that. And stop using Canvas. It doesn't listen to you right away. It doesn't remove that, but I will remove it. And now all the code without canvas. Let's see if it makes it to the end. Okay, it made it to the end. Now I will do something that as a careful programmer, I will say it's here. And now do this, copy the current code, which is extract, into the saved version. So now I know that if I replace it, who knows, that's very fresh code, it might go wrong. Another thing I need to do if I want to try it, I need to source the environment. In other words, I'll have to do this. Then it will work. That's the structure of all my labs. So now I'm in a rope environment, and now I can run this code. So what I'm doing is taking the new code, okay? All the new code, watching how I replace it here. So how many lines? 276. Okay, great job. Save that. And now try to run that. Okay, at least it starts. But it doesn't work. That's why I saved the code. Nevertheless, I want to say try it. Try it just once. And if you can't, you can't. Copy. Giving it, you didn't do it right. Here are the errors. It seems like the error occurs. Well, sorry, you made the error, but if you can fix it, very good. So do everything. Now give me the complete code. And we're almost at the end of our demo. So that's already installed, but it wants me to run it with the error as well. Let's verify. By the way, you need to verify that it finished writing the code. Otherwise, you'll copy only partial code. But now I have all the code. I put it back in here. It's even longer now. So, well, I will first just run it like I did. And now it's parsing each individual file. Okay, so I will verify whether it worked or not. That's not the big point. The big point is let's go back to what we want to talk about. And that's right here. And one interesting thing was that I found in the letter by Andrew A. And the letter is called Batch. That is the match. And one interesting thing that Andrew Ng says here is that, no, that's the previous one. Well, in any case, I'll tell you what he talks about. He says that by now it doesn't really matter what language, because ChatGPT speaks any language, and he, Andrew Ng, is not very expert at JavaScript, but he is better at Python. Nevertheless, ChatGPT will do it either way. What is important, though, he says, is that you have a general idea. what coding is, what proper discipline of coding is, what that specific language is strong about, and essentially, and that's what I'm going to say, you can be a one-man unicorn if you have the good enough global view and ChatGPT at your service. Then maybe you can do much bigger projects than you were ever able to do before. So that is the conclusion. Look here, we looked at 3.0 and what it does, and you may have to shell out $200 a month if you have paying project, because then that would make sense. We also talked about this new approach of building code agents, totally different, but the world is large, and there are many different approaches. And by the way, there is a browse agent which we looked at last week. That was this one. Okay, so
In this lesson, we'll jump right into
next time I'll compare. I'll try to build something with this small agent. I will also try to compare it to this one. Right now, I have no idea of what's the big difference, but at least I showed you everything I wanted to show. And if we don't have everything clear and understood, well, that is the nature of things. There are areas where if you think you understand, that is wrong. Probably you missed something. That's why you think you understand. So learn it again, go through it again until you stop understanding. And that is the very unusual advice in this case. All right, so stop the share. Open the chat and pay attention to the chat. So let us see. Lance, do you believe it thinks using written language and is basically programming itself, or is something else going on? That's a good uh, question. I said, I know you picked on what I said. I said it's thinking in Python. Well, in that situation, it thinks in Python because it's trying different approaches. What's driving it? Well, it's training driving it. It is trying different Python constructs until it comes to the right one. So in that sense of things, but really what's inside, well, everybody knows it's a big transformer model running on many, well, maybe 10,000 GPUs, maybe more, or maybe even less if it uses another teacher. So that's a good question, but the answer is very complex. Another is Greg, think chain of thought, quote, tree of thought. I like all these terms. That's amazing. Did you invent it or did it somebody else invented it, right? Quote is prompting, others have code behind it. That's the answer. Similarly, it's the answer to what Lance was saying. Okay, I stepped away. Did ChatGPT correct its own code? Yes, Lance, it did. At least it ran. Now, where is it running? Right here, it ran. It even ran faster than before, so I can show you the output. I think it renamed the output. It called them arrests. Before it was, no, yes, it called them arrests. Okay, open that. At least it ran. Did it get better results or no? Well, that's a good question. What I need to look is NA. When some field was not extracted, then it shows NA like that. And I need to verify that it's really bad. Oh, good. And as you understand, I'm going back to the guy who helps me with the verification. So I will know the results pretty soon. I was not showing the screen. Boy, I should. 1 second. All I was showing is this. I showed you that it ran, it extracted. In extracting, it got all of the answers. It's about 4,000 answers. And that I need to verify every field, and I need to look for an A kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to do. By the way, I'll tell you next time if I completed this or no. That goes back to our plan of what we're doing here, right here. So I'm putting that here. Mhm. All right, it's just more fun to do it in the open. That is the plan. Going back to the chat. Okay, I assume you use AI to evaluate the delta with no Lance. I will not be looking. I'll rely on my brain. I will look at it and kind of find out what did it introduce. Now, Greg asks about end-to-end agents workflow. Did I try? The Mauricio says it. Mauricio. No, I have not thought about this, and honestly have not even heard about them. So, okay, I don't know what I would make browser agent do. So, all good questions, but I will cover that. The browser agent will look at again. Now, that is a very good question. How about end-to-end agent software? And I'm putting it back on our plan of what to do. Okay, it's there, even if you don't see it, it's there. And will I compare? Okay. Oh, wow, Greg, yes. Yeah, please do that, Greg. Wonderful. So I'll get in touch and I'll make sure that you are ready to talk. Okay. All right. Now it signed me out, so I kind of need to say thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. And Greg, you will be doing at least part of the presentation. Now, last comment is wow, what are your thoughts, Charles? Uh, I never heard about this, but I will check it. About president signing an executive order to add AI to the wow, that's very interesting. All right, thank you very much, everybody. See you next week. Thank you. Be well. All the best. A great year. Well, a great weekend and a great year.